Welcome to this demo on Tosca Data Integrity. Tosca Data Integrity tests end-to-end across all data warehouse landscapes. More and more companies are planning or already in progress of migrating their on-premise solutions to cloud-based solutions, which offer a higher performance at lower costs. Today we have a great example looking at Snowflake in a data warehouse and some of their features like time travel. Tosca Data Integrity has a layered approach to testing. We set up these different types of tests throughout your warehouse at different stages, ensuring to identify issues when they occur. Using this approach, we are able to test all different layers throughout your warehouse. Testing for data ingestion, storage, ETL transformations, marts and methods, reporting and analytics. Another use case is replication of data when you're upgrading databases. More commonly, what we're seeing is customers moving from on-premise to cloud-based solutions. Tosca Data Integrity covers this too. Companies we speak to are migrating off on-premise warehouses and moving to cloud-based solutions, such as Snowflake. Here we can see some of the highlights that Snowflake has to offer. And Tosca Data Integrity works with all Snowflake instances and leverages these features in testing. In today's example, we are using publicly available healthcare data. I have moved and transformed this data in my warehouse in order to show how we can check receive flat files for metadata and formatting accuracy before any moves, check data moved to SQL Server warehouse for completeness, correctness, and integrity against the flat file, migrating data from SQL Server to Snowflake by doing reconciliations including transformations and Snowflake's time travel feature, and check that Power BI reports reflect accurate data from Snowflake's marts. So let's have a look and see how we can create, maintain, and execute all these different types of tests in Tosca Data Integrity. Before we jump in, let's have a quick preview of my environment and data that I'll be using to set up our tests with Tosca DI. We'll start off with my flat files. These are the flat files which are publicly available from Medicare. They're all in CSV format, but I've also downloaded some FHIR files, which are the Healthcare Data Exchange Standards, in order to show you how we can use semi-structured files like JSON or XML, for example. After we've done our testing on the flat files, we will move to our data warehouse, where we start off in SQL Server. All my data has been uploaded here. And then we'll move over to Snowflake, where we'll migrate our data from SQL Server to my Snowflake data warehouse, and then jump in and look at our time travel features that we have here as well. We're also going to look at some Power BI reports along the way, where I'm going to compare the data in the Power BI reports to the data in my Snowflake marts. So this is what I've simulated for today's demo, and we'll start off by jumping into Tosca DI, and you can see this is Tricentis Tosca. We focus on model-based automation across all technologies and applications for UI and API, and our data warehouse and our data integrity is basically an add-on to Tosca's model-based automation. So this allows you to do the same model-based automation across your data warehouses, reducing your scripting and maintenance effort. So I'll give you a quick preview of what we mean by model-based automation in case you're new to that. So if I open this up, you'll see here, this is what we refer to as models. We create models for different technologies to pull data or enter data or verify data from them. And this model is what we use to automate different types of tests. It's the foundation of our automation. It gives us a single point of maintenance and allows us to scale automation across enterprise companies. If I click on the first one, you can see here's an example of a model that represents a web application with different controls and drop-downs, and we can enter and pull data from this application. You can see the same for SAP, .NET, different Java-based applications, whatever it might be, APIs, UIs, terminal emulators, we can automate it and enter and pull data from it. The Data Integrity add-on allows you to pull data from large data sources. As I mentioned, when we saw JSON files, we can load this up into a caching database, normalize the data, and then compare it to other data sources. Here's a pre-built model that allows you to connect to any source and compare it against any target. We have different out-of-the-box connectors that allow us to connect to different databases or files, whether they're on-premise or cloud-based, and you can compare and apply different row options, column options, different sort of formattings to take care of a lot of transformations out of the box. And this really reduces the SQL queries you have to write. So we're going to have a look at more of this in detail later, but these models are leveraged in what we call test cases or templates. If we have a look at some templates, what we can see is when you install Tosca DI, you'll have a number of predefined templates out of the box, whether we're pointing at files in large databases. We call this pre-screening and vital checks on different levels, different types of tests, and also on field level tests. That's the ones we're looking at here. But just to give you an example, let's say we wanted to do a total row by row count from a source to a target. Here's a pre-written template. If I expand this, what you can see here is we'll establish a connection. I'll show you that in a second. But here's the query that we'll run. It's a predefined query and it's all parameterized. We're going to launch a wizard in a little while. It's going to point to a file, point to a database, on-prem or cloud, and it'll pull the information it needs from these data sources, inject it into these SQL queries that are parameterized, and compare the resource count from a table, for example, to another table on a target. So here we're doing a buffer function, which means save the value to a variable name called source count and compare that source count against the target, doing a verification. So there's a large number of these predefined templates provided when you install Tosca DI. You can use them and you can also create your own. So if I copy this, for example, I have a new one down here and I can say demo SQL. And now what you'll see is if I expand this, I can customize this query, doing a very basic customization where date equals, and I can use some dynamic expressions like date to filter by further querying. And then it'll run that based on the state and compare it to the target. But these are the SQL queries in these templates that are going to be leveraged in the wizard later. And this is more on the metadata and formatting side. And later we'll look at the actual data itself. So if I collapse these, those are the tests or templates leveraging models, and we also have test sheets, which are created when you point to the actual data source and the target, which you'll see a bit later. So it's creating data-driven testing using wizards, but we're doing this by pointing to your sources and targets, wherever your data is, and these tests are generated at a large scale. So how does that work? If I click on my sandbox folder over here, you can see my data integrity tab, and you can see I can point to a file to a database on what we call vital checks, which is more on table level, and then we can point to them on field level. And then later we'll look at the data itself. But it's all these first 5 tests are driven by wizards, which are very easy to create and maintain on a large scale, and allow you to focus more on transformations.